Selamünaleyküm.
Salam, hay müəllim.
Danışabilirsiniz. Biraz yaxın çünkü görünmüyor.
Bak, biz sıkışırız. Geldik biz. Merhabalar. Гel. Давайте остановитесь. Давайте ближе сюда, ближе, чтобы все попали в кадр. Olar, hamımız görünürük.
Bəli. Bir tek Günel biraz daha.
Gel.
Ay sağ ol. Hem de öbür tarafta kim var onu görebilmek.
Ben, let's do it bilingual the way we usually do it.
Okay.
Respublika günümüz mübarek olsun. Happy Republic Day, Azerbaycan. With that said, with your kind permission, I probably will let people go to their own devices, and I will join you with your permission.
Okay, thank you.
Well, well, let's start. What's the lingua franca? Do we speak usually when you make a physical presentation, it's much easier. Do we speak Azerbaijani? Do we speak English? What's the lingua franca?
I think we've got English guests. Maybe English better. It's up to you.
Okay, so let's do it this way. I'll do the presentation half and half, Azerbaijani English, and then we switch to English, and that's how we continue. If that's okay with you.
Good idea. Thank you.
Birinci, mən çox sağ olun demək istəyirdim sizə. Doğrudan da vəziyyət ağırdır, vəziyyət gərgindir, vəziyyət bir mənalıdır. Social distancing qüvvədə qalır və şükür Allah Londondakı vəziyyət yavaş-yavaş düzəlirsə, amma yenə də tədbirlərin keçirilməsinə icazə verilmir. Həm FCO tərəfindən, həm baş nazirin ofisinin tərəfindən və çox təəssüflər olsun ki, bu il biz tam şəkildə, necə biz hər il edirik, tam şəkildə Respublika günümüzü qeyd eləyə bilmirik. Amma heç də not to worry, ingilislər demişkən, heç də səbəb yoxdur bizə kədərlənmək üçün. İnşallah biz hansısa böyük digər tədbir təşkil edərik bu il. Ya həmrəlik günü, ya biraz bu qadağanlar və məhdudiyyətlər bir balaca aradan qaldırılandan sonra. Mən bir daha sizi hamımızı və bizi hamımızı daha doğrusu Respublika günü münasibəti ilə təbrik edirəm. Mən dəfələrlə demişəm ki, mənim çox xoşuma gəlir necə fransızlar öz tarixinə yaxınlaşırlar. Birinci Respublika dövrü, ikinci Respublika dövrü, üçüncü Respublika dövrü əslində Azərbaycanda eyni vəziyyətdir və mən heç də belə müsbət yanaşmıram. İnsanlar deyəndə ki, Sovet İttifaqı dağılanda Azərbaycan öz müstəqilliyini təmin edib və ya Azərbaycan öz müstəqilliyini qurub. O düzgün deyil. Azərbaycan öz müstəqilliyini bərpa edib. Çünki Azərbaycanın qısa da olsa 2 ildən az da olsa, amma müstəqil respublikanın təcrübəsi var idi və 1918-ci ildə yaranılmış respublika həm şərqdə, müsəlman şərqdə əsasən ilk parlament demokratiyası olaraq xanımlara seçmək və seçilmək, yəni active and passive suffrage rights nöqteyi nəzərdən haqları verən məsələsində və digər bir sıra məsələlərdə çox qabaqcıl və çox progresiv bir dövlətdir. Və mənə elə gəlir ki, onun tradisiyalarını, onun tarixini biz əsas kimi götürsək, bu bizim üçün, gələcək üçün daha böyük imkanlar yaradacaq ölkəmizin inkişaf etdirilməsində. Və belə deyim, Azərbaycan Demokratik Respublikası tərəfindən irəli sürülən idealların və dəyərlərin inkişaf etdirilməsində. I'm saying that there are lots of us here English speakers, so with your kind permission, I will switch to English, if that's okay with everyone.
Yes.
Okay, so again, my congratulations to each and every one of us. I would say that despite the difficulties that the restoration of the independence after the collapse of the Soviet Union went through, including, unfortunately, aggression by our neighbor, armed occupation of a considerable portion of Azerbaijani territories, and turning a large percentage of our population, nearly 1 million of Azerbaijanis, into refugees and displaced persons. Despite all of this, despite the initial hardships of breaking up economic, social, political ties inside the Soviet Union with the former Soviet republics, and mostly, I would say, economic ties, despite all of this, despite the fragmentation of the country that was taking place in the first months since the collapse. Mr. Harris, sir, good to see you. Good to see you. Despite this, we still think that this path of several years of restoration of independence that we have behind us is very significant. We did lots of achievements. We achieved many things, positive results. And I am very happy to welcome Mr. Martin Harris, our dear colleague and our distinguished department director at the FCO, our day-to-day point of contact, especially under the circumstances. He found time to join us here. So thank you very much, good sir.
Great pleasure to hear. It's very good to be with you, and I'm delighted to join your celebration. I'm sorry we can't do it in person, but this is a great initiative by the embassy, and I'm very glad to be here with you.
At the very beginning, Mr. Director, I mentioned already that we would do definitely something physical as soon as it is possible and allowed by the scientists and by the regulating authorities here in the United Kingdom, maybe towards the end of the year, if everything goes okay and the number of cases of infection continues to decline and or disappear. But we will definitely do something. So far, we have to be content with what we do now without, bringing together glasses and raising a toast to the friendship, traditional relations of friendship between the United Kingdom and Azerbaijan, and to the health of Her Majesty. And but we will do that definitely. So with your kind permission, I will be very brief, Martin. I will just say a couple of words and then the floor is yours, and we proceed with some sort of discussion. And we also have a little bit of surprise in form of a video for you. Emma Nicholson did not leave us alone on this day of self-isolation. She kindly recorded the message, which we will transmit a little bit later. But briefly, I would say that Azerbaijan not only has become a very important partner, internationally speaking, for the European community in general, for the West in general, and for the United Kingdom specifically. Azerbaijan has also very pragmatically followed its own path that was outlined by the establishing fathers, by the founding fathers of the First Republic, of the ADR, back in 1918. Exactly the same way that it was carried over by the first president of Azerbaijan, by Heydar Aliyev, and the current president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev. This path is basically aimed at trying to, if initially it was about giving Azerbaijan back its voice in the international community, then at a later stage, it was more about making Azerbaijan accepted as a good, law-obedient international citizen. Currently, it is more about trying to make sure that Azerbaijan is able to walk this thin path that is based on the national interest of the country, on the interest of every single citizen of our country, while at the same time being as reciprocal and as receptive as possible with regard to our international partners, to our foreign partners. And I think the relations between Azerbaijan and the UK are a very good example of that. Every time I promise myself I'm not going to talk about energy, but energy is the backbone of our cooperation. But even outside of energy, you take a look at it, the number of companies, British companies working in Azerbaijan has always been one of the decisive factors, one of the decisive figures for me personally. And if a year ago we were talking about slightly above 500, I think we're talking 520 plus, now we're talking nearly 600 British companies working in Azerbaijan, 591 to be more specific. Our relations are strong, both in energy and outside of energy. The trade turnover is nearly at a level of £1 billion for the year 2019. And we are kind of balancing nicely export and import there. So this is a very mutually advantageous, very mutually beneficial relationship that we have between our two countries. I think that the very fact that Azerbaijan becomes one of the main destinations for the United Kingdom, at least in the former Soviet Union, in terms of the FDI, foreign direct investments. The very fact that for Azerbaijan, UK remains one of the key partners and still delivers over 50% of the FDI. The very fact that BP continues to view Azerbaijan as its largest and most important overseas project, single national project, and the total amount of the BP investments into Azerbaijan, they have already exceeded 70 billion US dollars. I mean, all of this give us grounds to think about the important ways where we can further develop, diversify, and improve our relationship. For example, I think you will be the first one to hear that, but we are doing a very good and a very noble thing along with BP, and I have to commend BP here on this one. On the 30th of May, the next charter flying from London to Baku will take 40 plus our citizens who would like to be evacuated back to Azerbaijan. And this tradition will, or this newly establishing tradition will continue in the following months. So at this point, probably I will stop and I will just give you one last piece of greetings, and that's from my colleague and my, in good sense of the word, partner in crime, head of the APPG on the Azerbaijani side, Javanshir Feyziyev, who's currently in Sheki with his electorate. So we tried for him to join the Zoom conference. Unfortunately, either the internet is not good enough or there are some other problems, but he could not do that. He just wanted to say hello. So I'm doing that for him and assure you that our interparliamentary relations are as strong as ever and will continue to develop to the benefit of our two nations. Thank you very much indeed. And Mr. Director, if I may ask you.
So Tahir, thank you so much for that excellent overview of what is a very strong and a very special relationship between the UK and Azerbaijan. I was actually, as you know, very fortunate to be in Baku in March. I think it was just before all of the lockdowns and the shutdowns, and I made it just in time and had an excellent program which really showed me the breadth and the strength of the relationship between our two countries. I had some really good discussions with Deputy Foreign Minister Khalafov in the Foreign Ministry, and I was also, I think, twice in the presidential administration, both to see Hikmet Hajiev and also to talk to the economic advisor to the president. And it was at a very important moment for our countries, because it was just at the start of this situation, and when some of those first effects were felt, and in particular the effects in the oil market with the very dramatic drop in the price of oil. And what I found there was that the strength of the partnership between our countries was really important as both of us work through the health issues, the social issues, the economic issues, and the political issues that we are facing as a result of COVID-19. That was the substance of the talks that I had both with the presidential administration and with the foreign ministry. And just after I had seen the presidential advisors, the president's economic advisor, the next people in the door were BP, also there, to have that discussion as really strong strategic partners of Azerbaijan about how to manage this volatility in the oil market, and also how to make use of a crisis. Because I think this is one of the things that we're able to do as strategic partners, not just to react and to help each other out as we have been doing, and in a very human way as well. I also want to pay tribute to the work that we've been doing for each other in helping our nationals to get home across the situation. But also to use this crisis to think about, well, how can our countries build back better, grow, how can we strengthen the partnership, but also strengthen our economies and our societies through this experience. And I think that I witnessed those conversations already happening in Baku. There was that focus of, yes, what do we do with this immediate situation, but how do we use it to pivot to a low carbon future, how we ensure that Britain and Azerbaijan are using our partnership to respond to the challenges of climate change, as well as to the challenges of COVID-19. And also how we can develop our strategic dialogue on these questions. I won't go into all of the discussions that I had in Baku on such an open format as Zoom, but I will just say that I had really interesting, substantive and important discussions, not only about our bilateral relationship, but also about how we're managing issues of regional and global security, whether those are in the energy space or in the space of climate change or other security issues. And so that's something which really impressed me from my visit to Baku, and gave me a real confidence about the relationship going ahead. We were also very touched by the gesture that the Aliyev Museum made in clothing itself in the Union Jack.
And we appreciate your background very much. I was about to go to that.
Yeah, well, I really appreciated the gesture. I think, again, it was just a sign of a friend and strategic partner reaching out to the people of the UK as we were going through and still going through the brunt of this terrible pandemic. But COVID-19 has given us new opportunities to come together. Even if we can't do that in person, we are doing that in our policies and in our practices and in the way that we're supporting each other. And that's been happened by governments, it's been happening in the commercial space. It is demonstrating the strength of that partnership. When tough times come, you do need friends. And this is a friendship that is really strengthening, I think, through this crisis. So, in short, lots actually to celebrate today on this occasion. And my congratulations to you, Ambassador, to all of your colleagues in the embassy, to all of the all of our Azeri friends on this National Day, and our appreciation for this strategic and strong partnership that we enjoy with Azerbaijan.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your kind words, and especially important that these were not the words said for the sake of politeness. This is how we feel about our cooperation. This is how we feel about our partnership in both Baku and London. This is how we pursue this cooperation. So I have a suggestion for you, if that's okay. Let's watch the video that Emma sent us. It's only 1 minute. We'll listen to the hymns and then we proceed with the discussion on a free and liberal basis, meaning that whoever wants to join, joins, whoever wants to leave, leaves. Is that okay? Okay.
A very, very happy Republic Day national anniversary for Azerbaijan. My name is Emma Nicholson, Baroness Nicholson of Winterbourne, and I have the honour of serving as Her Majesty's Government, the British Prime Minister's trade envoy for your wonderful nation. Therefore, I celebrate with you, and I absolutely cannot tell you how delighted I am that you have this celebration. It's in the middle of the pandemic, it's not a happy time, but the First Vice President is handling the pandemic brilliantly well, and you have very few cases, and I'm sure we will all be together again very soon. So the happiest of anniversaries to my dear friends in Azerbaijan and Azerbaijanis here in London and everywhere.
So everyone could see that, everyone could hear that. Is that okay? So we do the anthems? So now from this point on, it's a free discussion, and we do it as if we were standing one of the places where we usually had this, be it the Horse Guards Hotel, be it Jumeirah, or any other hotel where we used to have our events. So whoever wishes to leave is free to leave at any given moment, and whoever wishes to join is also free to join. Floor is open. We have this wonderful expression in Azerbaijani with the ürək sözləri, the heartfelt words. So, ladies and gentlemen, your heartfelt words, who has whatever to say, or questions maybe to ask. Yes, Dr. Atalar,
Yes.
head of the Azerbaijani House, Dr. Ali Tekin Atalar.
Yes. Your Excellencies, it is great to see you all in spite of the terrible difficulties of this damn COVID-19 pandemic. As the member of the Azerbaijani diaspora, we thank Ambassador Tayerzadeh for arranging this meeting, which is very, very meaningful and very close to our heart. The first independence of Azerbaijan Republic in 1918. And we really would like to remember the founder fathers of the 1918 First Republic, starting with the first president, Mehmed Emin Rasulzadeh, who those brave intellectuals really fought against terrible odds to establishing the first Islamic state, democratic republic in the East, after nearly 400 years of being ruled by the Russian Empire. They were very, very brave because they were fighting against British, Russian, and Armenians, which at that time, unfortunately, those were the military forces occupying Baku. I'm sure the Ambassador Martin Harris knows the history. So us two countries started in a very wrong footing, but eventually I'm happy to say that we are now the great friends and trading partners, which is a good thing.
But then there was a switch from Dunsterville to Thompson.
I was just going to mention
side
that. Well, it's, you know, I only learned a lot about Dunsterville quite recently. I'm absolutely amazed that has there ever been anywhere that the British hasn't been? I just never dreamt that Dunsterville, you know, British was in Baku controlling, and even there was 200 British troops in the city where I was born in Kars, which I couldn't believe it, because I grew up there, but I never heard of that. Of course, there was another history of the Kars that is I can't remember his exact name, but by a British general Canadian who fought with the Ottomans 2 centuries ago against the Russians. And in fact, I think his name was given to a town in Canada. It's a town called Kars because he very gallantly fought against the Russians, and it was the siege of Kars. If you look into Google, you'll see a very interesting history. Anyway, we are very, very fortunate that the Second Republic, again after 1992, when the Soviet Union dissolved, successfully was formed, and now we have this successful, thriving, independent, democratic Azerbaijan Republic, and we're all very proud to be call it as our home. And that's all I want to say. And again, Ambassador Tayerzadeh, thank you very much for arranging this meeting.
Well, thank you for joining us, Dr. Atalar. Thank you for your kind words, and we really, really appreciate that, all of us, I think. And, you know, you said that if there was a place where the British were not present and the British interests were not being represented, well, after all, it was an empire over which the sun shone forever, the one over which sun never went down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Though I would add here that I think the Dunster Force was notably unsuccessful in its in its operation in Baku. Maybe it's the American cars that we have to blame for that, because I think they were all in Fords when they did that operation.
Yeah,
but let's agree that when General Thompson was heading the military group, that basically we sort of fought side by side and fought quite successfully for some time.
Can I just add one little point, if I may? Just that we had the 19th of May celebrations in Turkish community regarding the Kemal Atatürk's landing in Samsun to start the independence war. And he actually had to get a visa stamped on his passport from the British occupying forces to be able to get on a ship and go to Anatolia in his own country. So we've got quite similarities about the independence movement with Azerbaijan and Turkey. Only people we weren't fighting in Turkey against was the Russians this time, because the occupiers were French, Italian, and British, of course. Anyway, that's all history. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
David?
David?
Yes, well, I'd just like to say it's an honor to join you, and this is a very nice initiative. And I have to slip away, but I'd like to welcome, wish everybody congratulations on Republic Day. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us. You know, basically, we once had a discussion, and I was remembering the words of Jean Jaurès, the great French revolutionary, the great French politician and the thinker, philosopher. But basically, he said that there is only one, I think, absolute value in the world, and that's independence. Freedom and independence, he put them together. So that's what we are thriving at, freedom and independence. Neither of the two we unfortunately had under the Soviet Union. So we are trying to promote and solidify that as much as possible. Unfortunately, it has to be watered by the blood of the martyrs sometimes, like it was through the Black January, like it was with regard to the conflict and on many other occasions. But if I sound cynical, forgive me, please, but I think it's worth it. It's worth it, because the only thing we can give as inheritance to our children and grandchildren is basically those two things that I mentioned, freedom and independence, nothing else. Nothing else is internal in this world. COVID-19 is showing us that even freedom can be, how shall I put that, relative sometimes. But independence stays, of course. Meaning freedom of movement, of course, I mean.
Ambassador, we've also got Parvin Hanım from Florida. Hello, Parvin.
Welcome.
Her microphone is mute.
We don't hear you. We see you, but we don't hear you. Can you maybe please unmute the lady from here? Hold on. Yep.
That's it.
Please go ahead.
No, you turned on again.
Okay, hear me now?
We can now.
Yeah,
we do hear you. Welcome.
Greetings from Florida, United States. Thank you so much, Your Excellency Ambassador Egizadeh, for invitation. It's a beautiful day today. Bayramınız Mübarek. Happy Republic Day. On this day, special days, we can promise our motherland that we will do everything that can preserve and enriches our cultural heritage. Thank you so much. I'm so happy.
Thank you so much for joining us. Martin, you see how much globalized we are, even in the times of pandemic.
Thank you for technology. Thank you.
I mean, if it was not for COVID-19, who would ever say that Parvin Hanım will join us from America?
Exactly. I'm so happy to see you all. I have a wonderful memory. I have a wonderful memories to come to London and have a concert there, and still remember that. Thank you so much.
Once the pandemic goes away, hopefully we'll have again.
Well, certainly will. Yeah. Thank you.
Penny? Penny of,
Ms. Papadopoulou, hello, how are you? Good to see you.
Good afternoon, good to see you too. Happy anniversary, prosperity more than anything else, and prosperity not just to the country itself, but to the citizens of the country, and happiness. This is much more important, I think. Thank you for inviting me today. It's a pleasure and an honor, as it always is, to be amongst wonderful people, wonderful individuals who feel so passionate about their own country, the same way I feel about mine, about Greece. I'm really honored. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much
Yolanda?
for joining us. I really appreciate that.
Unmute your microphone, Jal.
Let me try that. Maybe I can do it.
Jal is Turkish.
Yeah,
Is
you
it
are
Turkish?
I think you can.
Sorry, you finished, Penny? I
Yes,
don't know.
yes, yes, yes. We can hear you.
Yes.
Is a Turkish Federation of UK, and we are celebrating enjoy on your 102nd years anniversary. And thank you for inviting. And it was a wonderful for in the Zoom communication, everything. I think end of the year in the UK we will be carry on our conference and
God willing,
celebrate
inshallah,
in the
inshallah.
Zoom, inshallah.
Unfortunately, Zoom can't provide us with many advantages, Radha Khanum, with the only exception. We cannot deliver food and drinks through the Zoom.
Water.
Believe me, consider that my debt, my personal debt to you, not withstanding, limitations of COVID-19. We'll do something end of the year, definitely, definitely. And quite honestly, I was sitting here and thinking, how much closer are we getting thanks to the pandemic? Maybe that sounds a little bit controversial, but I really think that in some respects, it is bringing us closer together despite limiting us to our own homes in terms of self-isolation. Well, take a look at it. I mean, I spoke to the headquarters, the central, well, we don't have the office of commandant as many countries do. We do have this collective body headed by the prime minister, which deals with the issues of coronavirus. So I spoke to two people in that one, including the deputy chair, Shahin Mustafayev, the deputy prime minister, and the secretary of the headquarters. I spoke with Azerbaijani Airlines. I spoke with BP. I spoke with the foreign ministry on the level of two specific differing deputy ministers. And all of this is becoming this way, probably to some degree, to some extent, thanks to the pandemic. The issues that the pandemic puts in front of us are unexpected sometimes, and we need to find new ways how to cope with them. So to a certain degree, I mean, we are being forced into a totally new situation, which gives us a totally new set of responsibilities and a new instrumentarium to tackle them.
Yep. As you know, as a doctor, I still keep interest, retired, but interest in the medical affairs, and I'm a member of the Royal Society of Medicine. And since this pandemic and the Zoom invention of Zoom or becoming popular, they have daily 1 hour COVID-19 and other matters Zoom conferences. And the amazing thing is that, as you say, it brought whole world together. And the summary of it is that in spite of the political differences and the tiffs and between China and Trump and all the rest of it, the scientists got on with the job. They have an incredible cooperation on Zoom and internationally. They're exchanging information more or less minute by minute. The data is being gathered from the treatment of the experience of the countries, maybe Italy, Japan, or United States and Chinese, and they all say that there is no feeling of any sense of nationality or any difference in religion or creed or anything. The whole world scientific community all at one, trying to get some sort of treatment and vaccination. And that is one of the reasons it's been so accelerated. 3, 4, 5 years work is now, it seems to be, they've been achieving results, not completely yet, but within 3 to 6 months. This is absolutely amazing. It's all thanks to the Zoom and possibly the world coming all together, discarding politics.
Dr. Atalar, thank you for your words, but you just mentioned, the experience of other countries. Unfortunately, today we had very pessimistic and very sad news from Azerbaijan. That was the second highest total, I think, for a day. We are talking about nearly 170 new cases in the last 24 hours in Azerbaijan. We are trying to tackle that. You know that the government does a lot. We have put, by the decision of the president, over 3 billion manats. That's for you close to 1.5 billion pounds into the stabilization fund, which basically supports the businesses, supports the individuals, especially those unemployed. And on one hand, on the other hand, the president's decision was to extend the number of jobs in the public sector to make sure that there are ways for people to support themselves. And I can report to you gladly that through the program called My Friend, that was established by the government, we already have 61,000 new jobs since the moment the pandemic started, which I think for a country the size of Azerbaijan is an absolutely glorious achievement.
Yeah, excellent. But I mean, it seems to be the COVID-19 has got a habit of jumping from one to another country. You know, it's taking it turns. But I mean, it is unbelievable that some countries manage to deal with it very effectively and very well, like New Zealand and South Korea. I don't know, so Denmark, and some countries really disastrously, like. I think the United States is well above 100,000 deaths.
No, it kind of reminds me of a conversation I had last night with one of the deputy ministers of the Czech government in my previous posting, also my partner in the fencing lessons. So a big fan of the classical Spanish fencing. And what he said is, does that remind you the way that works? Does that remind you of reconnaissance? You know, the first touches when two opponents don't know each other, so they kind of try to fill the loopholes in their individual defenses. So that's what coronavirus is doing now. He's kind of
probing
various places.
Yeah.
I just would emphasize though that point about it being a global pandemic and requiring global solutions.
Exactly.
We definitely, you know, from the point of view of the British government, that's very much an approach that we're taking and that we are supporting, because it's really through that kind of collaboration. I mean, firstly, you know, this is a very strange virus. It's behaving in new ways that scientists need to collaborate on to be able to understand and draw that experience of how it's reacting in different countries and different parts of the world. So that sort of part of the collaboration is really important. And then there's this urgent necessity to find a vaccine as soon as possible. And that will only be done through international cooperation. And that's getting the scientists together. It's also getting the money together as well. And we're putting a lot of emphasis behind the Vaccines Alliance, Gavi. So next week, I think Boris Johnson will be hosting a meeting to ensure, I think it's $7.5 billion is what we're hoping to raise in order to be able to develop the vaccine. And a lot of support by different people for the next stage, which is production. But I think what's particularly important here is that we want to be sure that when a vaccine is discovered, and hopefully that will be soon, that access to that vaccine will be equitable and universal.
Absolutely.
It's not something that will be for particular countries or particular groups, but the whole world can benefit from that scientific collaboration when it bears fruit, as we hope it will soon.
There's a bit of
Also, if I may, Dr. Atalar, just wanted to react, Martin. I just was about to say that, you know, any international cooperation has a slim hope of succeeding only if there is a leading force that basically coordinates the efforts. And I think that UK has been this leading force in terms of search for the vaccine, both Europe-wise and globally speaking. So we all of us that are posted here, that live in Azerbaijan, all of us appreciate very much the UK efforts. UK has historically been a, you know, force for peace and justice. Now it's becoming also force for health and equity, in what you just mentioned. So we all appreciate these efforts by the Prime Minister, by Her Majesty's government, by this country in general. This approach by every single person that has been here, that has been part of those ever-broadening humanitarian efforts, both in search for the vaccine and in more general terms. So we appreciate it very much, sir.
Yeah.
Dr. Atalar, please, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that again, for the international cooperation, I mean, when the first Chinese had the first inklings that there was something going wrong in Wuhan, I think it was December, early January, they panicked and they did try, and the local people did try to minimize and probably as far as deception, saying that nothing was wrong. Anyway, eventually they realized that was the wrong avenue to take, and then they completely reversed and they become very transparent. And in fact, they were the first one to internationally publicize the genome sequence of the virus, which a lot of scientists normally, when they do that, they either get a patent or they're very reluctant to let other people to work on it. Anyway, they made available to the whole world scientific community. And now it's a good news that I heard from Royal Society of Medicine that they accelerated vaccine trials finished the first month with a positive result, except obviously 1 month is not enough to make sure that it hasn't got the serious side effects. It will need another 3 months. So the vaccine, and that is being actually developed by Chinese and made available to the rest of the world community if they want to trials on the same thing. So, I mean, there is light at the end of the tunnel, but how long the tunnel, I don't know. Hopefully it's shorter than the pessimist will say. Anyway, that's a little bit of medical information, but again, back to the point that international cooperation of the scientists is second to none at the moment. I'm very pleased to see that happening.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Atalar. Do we, anybody?
Ayten Hanım, your microphone is muted.
Oops, I'm sorry. Let me. I think I can do that.
That's it.
Yeah, already. You got it. Ooh,
No, it's gone again.
hold on.
That's it.
Are we?
Yeah.
Yes, we are, I think.
I'm very thank you so much for inviting me to join this conversation, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you for joining us.
Atalar, thank you. And thank you, Mrs. Tagizade Ülviye Hanım. She invited me to join this conversation. I'm so honored to be with you. And on behalf of the State Committee on Affairs with Diaspora of Azerbaijan Republic, I would like to say my greetings on occasion of National Day, Republic Day. Thank you so much, and God bless Azerbaijan, and God bless everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ayten Hanım. God bless our friendship and partnership. And you know, you can never have enough friends. The pandemic is showing that in a very brilliant manner, that you can never have enough friends. Yeah. You can never have enough partners. You can never have enough of those who stand by your side. You know, in Azerbaijan, we have this interesting thing, at least my late dad used to say that. He said, friends are not those of whom you think when you start calling people to join you for your birthday celebration, because those joining will be aplenty. Yeah. Friends are those of whom you think in your days of sadness, in your days of grief, in your days of trouble. Yeah. Those are the friends. Yeah. So even in these days, we are together. Martin, we are still friends, we are still partners, we'll be regardless what.
Thank you.
Well, us over 70s appreciate the old friends more than anyone else at the moment, because
you got muted. Martin, you somehow got muted again. I'm sorry. Oops.
Mine is on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was saying.
Ms. Harris went mute.
Right.
Oops. Okay, whatever. Okay. Yeah, we're back. Okay. Sorry. Are we?
Are we done?
So if we are, then allow me to thank everyone for participating. And I think it was a great opportunity to catch up, to talk about our issues, to see the good old familiar faces, to make sure that all of us are okay in those days of trial.
Thank you, Ambassador. We're really honored.
Thanks to everyone.
Great to see you.
Thank you. Martin, can I call you later? Can I call you today?
Thank you.
Thank you. And happy Republic Day to everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Done it.
Bye.
Very good.
Okay.